setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. I'm glad you've joined me. It's a beautiful day, beautiful Friday. I'm happy it's here. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about negotiating and some rules that we need to put in place before we even start the negotiations and the process through negotiations. I will be right back. Stay tuned.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I tell you, this whole week has been wasted on these congressional hearings. We have been listening to this nonsense for 3 years, and now we come down to this impeachment inquiry, which then goes to the Judicial Committee, and then finally over to the Senate for a full trial. So everybody's been caught up in it, because if you really focus on what's happening here, at least what I'm focusing on, is the constitutionality of it all. The legal side of it all. And you have to, I'm a businessman and I'm a tax guy, so constitutional issues disturbs me when I see them being attacked. So all this week I have been following it. Following this, it's really just a bunch of nonsense. No evidence, no documentation, no legal opinions, it's just a waste of time. No laws have been broken. So let's get back to business. Luckily for us, Congress is going to be out for, I think, 2 weeks. So not that much damage is going to be done because they're now out of town, out of Washington, D.C., back into their constituents' places. But I tell you, it really has been a waste of time. So, the topic this morning is negotiations and what we need to do to kind of preliminary set up the negotiations and also the process through the negotiations. And the very first thing is negotiate the process. And we often have this difficulty closing the deal in negotiations because we fail to negotiate an explicit process at the beginning of talks. At least that's according to Harvard Law School Professor Robert C. Bordone. Before discussing the specific issues at stake or the parameters of your talks, discuss how the negotiations should proceed, what ground rules are needed, who will facilitate the meetings, what issues will you discuss and when, and according to Bordone, mapping out the negotiation process can help you avoid making false assumptions during your talks, in addition to enabling more efficient and streamlined negotiations. Now, I'm going to tell you why that's so true. I mediate business issues, mediate business contracts, mediate business conflicts, disputes. And one of the things that I have to do at the very beginning of these mediation and negotiation processes, I have to set up what the process is going to be. We do this, and then we do that, and then we do that, and this is who's going to talk, and this is who is in charge. And so if you don't have that preliminary stages set up and everybody understands what the rules of the negotiation or the mediation is going to be, it becomes a bigger conflict. I'll give you a very good example. Partners often form partnerships, right, in business. When I get involved, I'm at the point where the partners are bickering, going back and forth. They have a different view of what's going to happen, which is a sad thing, because all of that should have been done at the very beginning when they formed the partnership and the rules set forward of who is going to do what, who's going to be in charge of what, who's going to pay for what, etc. There have to be rules at the beginning of every business relationship or every business negotiation. It has to be done. You have to negotiate the process. Everyone has to know the process and what their roles are in the process. It's very important. When I get into mediation and I have these business disputes, it's because no one knew the process. Know the process. Number 2 is set benchmarks and deadlines. And this is very important because you have to set these parameters. When designing the negotiation process, set short-term benchmarks as well as realistic but ambitious final deadline, recommends Bordeaux. And also, what happens if you fail to meet a benchmark or deadline? Explicitity is important. Discuss whether you need to set a new schedule and how you can improve going forward. Negotiators, at least I do as a negotiator, often worry that they will concede too much as the clock runs. But remember that the other side is equally affected by the deadline. Consequently, deadlines can spur consensus and create thinking from both sides. University of California, Berkeley professor Don A. Moore has found in his research that there needs to be these deadlines set. And listen, when I mediate or when I'm negotiating a contract or if I'm working with a business client, I set deadlines. Now, the other side may come back to me and say, hey, can we tweak it just a little bit? Yeah, we can do that. But as long as we understand what's expected from both of us in this negotiation process or in this business process also, of what deadlines need to be met in order to proceed going forward. It's very important. And then third, try a shutdown move. And that means that if you anticipate that a more attractive offer from a competitor may be an obstacle to closing the deal, you might attempt to shutdown move, suggests Harvard Business School and Harvard Law School professor Gruhan Sabarian. For example, you might ask the other side for a limited, exclusive negotiating period, such as 1 week, during which time they would agree not to entertain offers from your competitors. To persuade the other party to this type of shutdown move, described as such because it cuts off competition on your side of the table, elaborate on the unique non-monetary advantages you can bring them, such as access to value networks or a stellar PR team. In other words, bring something new to the table that's going to entice them. But get that exclusivity. Shut it down for 1 week while you're negotiating. It works. I've seen it work. I've had exclusivity deals before. We complied with them, worked it through, and at the end, we either had a deal or we didn't have a deal. And then sometimes you need to take a break. It may sound counterintuitive, I know, but adjourning negotiations until the following day or week or even longer may assist you in closing a negotiation faster. Taking a break gives you time and space to unwind from the often tense and stressful atmosphere of business negotiations. It also allows you to recap with your team and perhaps your supervisors and managers what you've accomplished and how far you have to go. This type of review can help you identify whether or not it's wise to keep moving toward closing a business deal. There's nothing wrong with that period of time that you pause, maybe have to regroup, maybe have to rethink, maybe have to reposition yourself. There's nothing wrong with taking that break. And then you need to bring in a trusted third party. Sometimes negotiations get stalled because one or both parties are reluctant to put their best offer on the table. If so, you might suggest enlisting a trusted neutral third party. In private meetings with the third party, each side could disclose its bottom line. The third party could then tell you if a zone of possible agreement, or ZOPA is what we call it, zone of possible agreement, exists. If not, it is probably time to move on. If so, you should be able to quickly identify a deal with or without the advisor's help. I'm brought into these situations several reasons. For several reasons. I have even been brought into a team where there was a dispute between the team and they didn't know in which direction to go. I have been brought in mergers and acquisitions and the bringing the parties together and understanding what's going to happen on both sides. I have been in a situation where the smaller company is buying out the larger company. And so there's a whole bunch of feelings going on at that point in time. But bring in a third party, bring in me. I'll be more than happy to act as a third party in any type of negotiation. Because I have the experience and the ability to bring you in alone, sit down and talk with you confidentially. If you want me to present your position, I'll be more than happy to, but you have to give me that permission to do that. And go to the other side and work and be the middle person. Sometimes that has to happen. And then also change the lineup, which means that if you or your team is having difficult closing, you're just having a difficult time in closing a business deal, consider bringing in replacements. A new team on one or both sides may be able to look at the negotiation with fresh eyes, fresh ears, free of any emotional baggage or personality clashes that could be holding you back. Find out who the decision makers are to see exactly if they're workable and how to work with them. And then set up a contingent contract. Finally, when closing negotiations, you might explore the possibility of a contingent contract. In essence, a bet on which party's vision of the future will come true. For example, if you believe a remodeler will do a great job on your house, but that his timeline is too ambitious, suggest putting in place a penalty for date completion, or alternatively a bonus for early or non-completion. If he really thinks he can meet the deadline, he should be happy to accept the contingency. Such deal terms allow parties to disagree on key issues. Closing a business deal is a complex process and notably not always the best option. But following our guidelines and following what we've just talked about, you will be better equipped to identify when a deal is within reach or not, or when a deal is within reach, as well as when you should explore other opportunities. There are many times when this happens, when at the end of the negotiations, you have to have these various different aspects of the negotiation process in mind and be able to put them in place very quickly. Negotiations is a process. In mediations, we have a process of negotiating the final result so we can get to that memorandum of understanding and all parties sign off on it. But it's this issue that you have to come to the table to be able to look at any opportunities, any issues that you don't agree with, or also being able to meet halfway on items that you can work on. So negotiations is a process, and you have to understand that it's a process. And it's very important that as we run our businesses, and as maybe you're a consultant to a business, that you know what that process is, so that you can guide your client or you can guide your management through the process of how you think this negotiation should go. And that's why you set the rules up front, so that everybody is on the same page of how you are going to negotiate. And once you do that, you can start the process and begin looking at the tactics and begin working with your team and expressing your opinions. And also bringing in that third party, that mediator, that mediation negotiator, if you want to call him that or her that. And help both sides come to an understanding so that you can close the deal. If you have any questions, listen, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Send me a text, question, comment, whatever you want. I'll respond to it. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Oh, one other thing, we're getting so close to Thanksgiving. And I want you to understand that gratitude is so important, and for you to share that gratitude. There are a lot of people out there this Thanksgiving season who do not have a place to go. They may be new to your community, they may be new to your church, they may be new to your business or company. They may not have anybody that they know in the city. They may be new to your city. They might not have any relatives. They may be an older individual, a younger guy or girl that's in college that can't go home for Thanksgiving, or the older person who has no place to go. Set one more place at your table of Thanksgiving. It's not that difficult to set one more place. It's not that hard to add just a little bit more ingredients to the mashed potatoes, or to the yams, or to the pumpkin pie. Turkey, you always have leftovers, so there's lots of turkey always. But remember, gratitude comes from the heart, and we have to share that. And we have to let people know that somebody is thinking about them during Thanksgiving time. Take out an extra plate, set it down on your table, fill it up with food, and invite someone that needs a place to go for Thanksgiving. That's all I'm asking. It's just a simple thing. Everybody go out and have a great Thanksgiving. Get prepared. Go out and do your shopping. I know you're going to be shopping for Thanksgiving this weekend and start preparing for the holidays. Everybody go out. Have a heart filled with gratitude. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.